Hello everybody, I'm at a shipyard today. Quick look. Alright. Okay. So I'm at a shipyard and it's like it's not even 6 a.m. in the morning. And the reason why is that I just took a ship from Fukuoka to Tokyo. It was like 36 hours and no internet, and I'm really happy I took it because I could have taken a flight, I could have taken a bullet train. I went by bullet train to Fukuoka, but I decided to come back by ship because there was no internet and I wanted to be alone in the middle of the ocean with no like distractions for like a few hours, you know, because as an entrepreneur or even in general in life, right, you're constantly bombarded by stuff, and when you're in the middle of the ocean and there's not much to do. I mean, there was like arcade games and stuff, but I didn't do it. It was a pretty nice ship, by the way, and they even had a sento, like a Japanese onsen type thing. And so it was a nice reset, and I was just doing journaling, I was reading a physical book, I was just sitting and thinking, meditating, you know, for like 2 days-ish. Yeah. And now we're back to Tokyo, and we're back to the humdrums of the city. Look at that. It's so beautiful, right? After we got to the shipyard, to the terminal, I had the option of taking a bus that takes me straight to the station. But I decided to just walk for like half an hour, you know, stay with just prolong that feeling that I had when I got off the ship a little longer, you know, walking in nature in the morning, much better than. Sometimes the slow way is more, the inefficient slow way is sometimes whatever, you get it, right? Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Today I'm going to talk about Fukuoka, and I'm also going to talk about what's going on in the company, and yeah, so it's going to be like a ramble sort of video, but we're going to cover some interesting stuff, hopefully. So Fukuoka. Fukuoka is a city in the south of Japan. It's about 5 hours by Shinkansen, and by Shinkansen is the bullet train. So 5 hours by bullet train, and about that's a nice scenery. So we will go through here instead, okay? And hopefully we end up somewhere. Yeah, so and like an hour and a half-ish by plane. And it's a much smaller city than Tokyo, but I found that it's kind of like San Francisco, where everybody knows everybody, you know. And so I went to a business networking event. I had a friend there, and instantly, within like 10 minutes of introducing myself, everybody at the table was like, okay, I know this person who can help you, I know that person who can help you. Like, the list of names of people who like just kept rolling, you know. And one of the people at the freaking event had started a company like 20 years back in my industry, and he knew a lot about the customers that I was targeting, right? So, and that usually never happens in Tokyo. I mean, it can happen if you go to a really specific event for your specific type of thing, but usually as an entrepreneur, you know, it's such a big city that you have a lot more breadth of people who exist here, but it's also kind of hard to find an anchor in a community where people just know each other and just opportunities just come to you serendipitously. Okay, so I'm actually seriously considering moving to Fukuoka. Although I haven't seen Osaka yet, so Osaka's also kind of on my list. And it's known as a fun place for foreigners because Osaka people are, as loud and supposedly as loud as foreigners, is what they say in Japan. Yeah. Wow, look at that. Okay. The next thing, okay, that's Fukuoka, all right? I was there for like a couple days. I slept at an internet cafe. And that was also a very good decision I made. First of all, it's convenient. It's really, you should go to YouTube. I mean, you are on YouTube. So open a new tab, after watching this video, or now if you're bored, and look up what a net cafe in Japan is like, and you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. The amenities they have and the stuff you can do. So I recommend it, and they have really good Wi-Fi, of course, right? And they're also really well located usually. Like they're usually located right near a really big central station in the city. Okay, what is this? Some kind of Tokyo. I kind of read that, but I'm gonna keep walking for a little while longer, because I want to walk for 45 minutes, and it's only been half an hour since I started walking. So let's keep going, baby. But since we passed by a station, we are in the right direction. We're going in the right direction. Like, you'll see more stations along the way. Okay, big site. Is that? I've been here before for a conference actually. So what's happening at Densler? Let's talk about that. I mean, my company. Let's talk about that next. I'm at an interesting junction with the company where the foundations have been kind of set up, and where you have to, when you start a company, especially so my company is a product-based company, and it's based on really big vision and ambition, right? And when you start a project like that, like a creative project like that, you have a lot of assumptions that you're making. It's like starting SpaceX, like you have a lot of assumptions that you're making in the beginning, and a lot of things have to fall right in place for the whole concept to even be plausible, right? To even be feasible. I don't know which word is the right word, plausible or feasible. What's the difference? Tell me in the comments. I don't know. And in the initial stage of building the business, you have to validate, you have to stay as cheap as possible and just focus on validating those assumptions you're making, right? Because if you just go for the fences, you might end up as a big failure. Like, have you heard of Klinkle? There was a company called Klinkle, infamous company, started by a 21, 22, 25-year-old guy, pretty young guy, young dude. He went out and raised $25 million for a B2C so financial social network type thingy, completely in stealth. Nobody knew what the company was about except the employees. And he got money from like Richard Branson and all these people, $25 million. It was the biggest seed round of funding in back then, right? Ever. For a company that has no product, no whatever. I mean, now it's like, for AI companies, like 25 million is like chump change, right? You have people raising like $1 billion for an AI company, for example, now. But back then, this is like 2013, 2014, Klinkle was a big deal. And when they launched, they had barely any traction, and the whole company just fizzled out. This guy was, he had rented the house that was in the Social Network movie. You've seen that movie, right? With Jesse Eisenberg about Facebook, the Social Network, it was called. So he rented the house in the movie and was spending money and all this shit, whatever. So that's like just one story of a type of company where you keep everything in secret, you don't launch, or you don't validate your hypothesis quickly and frequently enough, and you're really good at raising money, but then the whole thing, as soon as you launch, the whole thing falls apart, right? And I didn't want my company to be one of those. And also, to be fair, I don't think there's many versions of the story where I could have gone out and raised 25 million or anything like that, right? And I don't even need that much. So, where do we go from here? Well, let's see. Which way do you think I should pick? Should I pick that way or should I pick that way? I'm gonna pick that way. Because it's further from where we started. But I could also just keep going straight ahead, right? And let's see. I'll just go that way. Okay. Because I see somebody coming from there. So we have been. I'm probably a weird dude walking around with a tripod in my hands, like this at like 6 in the morning. That's fun. So, alright, well, I think I made the right choice, but if I didn't, I'll just have to walk a little longer, back where I started. So yeah, we've come to a stage in my company where we have been really lean, but we have fixed a lot of the assumptions. I mean, we have validated and sometimes corrected many of the assumptions that we made in the beginning when I started the project. And now it's about pedal to the metal, right? It's about hiring. It's about going out and raising real money to do that social networking, right? To do that, to fundraise, to build a dream team, right? I got here to this stage by just, working with freelancers and coding a lot myself for the most part. But now it's really about, you have to be building a really great team, a world-class team, which will set the future for the company, right? It can't be run like, it's kind of like a little sad to say it, it's kind of a little embarrassing to say it this way, but I can't run this like a hobby project anymore. It's still going to be a project, but not like, it has to now become a more intense project. I wouldn't say a serious project, because that's like death to a company when you start acting all super serious and whatever, but you have to be and become a little more intense and set the bar a little higher in terms of what kind of people you find into the company, and just what standards you have in general, right? So, and I'm like, I'm going all the way. I'm like, I want to hire the kind of team that Facebook had or that Google initially had, right? Before they had funding, of course. They still had great people, right? It's not like, oh, you need funding to like hire the best people, they don't want to work for anybody else. No, that's not true. Like everybody, the great people, there's always going to be people who will only work for money, let's face it, right? But there's also always people who just want to change the world, right? They could care less about money and more about the impact they want to have, right? And thankfully the world will always have people like that, right? If you go back in history, if you talk about, for example, huge military campaigns, right? Where you start out with a small army and you keep swallowing other smaller armies and become a big army, and then eventually you topple a kingdom, right? If you read a book, by the way, I'm fascinated by stuff like this, but read this book about Cyrus the Great. Cyrus the Great. So Cyrus the Great is a book written in, I think, like 3,000 years ago or something. This book was written by a Greek war general about the guy who founded the Persian Empire, right? Cyrus the Great was his name. He's mentioned even in the Bible. And Cyrus the Great, if you read his story, in many such stories since history, you'll see that most great military campaigns, the way you get people, mercenaries, to work for you is you say, hey, we're on this campaign, we're going to conquer this country and that country, whatever. Once we win, you'll get to loot and pillage and get a lot of money for yourself, and also get a lot of land to rule. And until we win, you'll be fighting all these battles with us. You might die or whatever. And all I can promise you until then is I'll keep you fed, right? And I'll try to keep you safe. I know what we're doing. We can win. We can win this, right? So come help me. So all through history, mercenary armies, like across the planet, even today, to this day, work for a reward that is delayed, that is greatly delayed, right? And there's death, a serious possibility of death along the way. And all they can promise you is that you'll be fed, right? So this kind of adventurous spirit is baked into the human population, right? Into our mindset, into our history. And that's why you can find people in any day and age, if it's worked for 5,000 years, it's probably going to keep working, right? And it works all the time. So yeah, you can always find people for an adventure. The brightest people on the planet, doesn't matter. You just have to have a compelling vision, a compelling pitch, basically, and you have to keep them fed, right? Those are two things. If you don't keep them fed, right? If you don't give them a decent, just carry them from one day to the next without them starving, then that's what you need to do. That's something you have to promise, right? Yeah, that's the basic, I'm also going to be fundraising again soon. I think I've mentioned this. We've been working on an animated video and such assets for, okay, one more thing that's been okay, that's the bus that I was supposed to take. And this is really good news because it means that I was walking in the right direction. So I'm just going to follow where this bus is going and keep going there. Yay! Oh yeah, I just saw it, it's good. So yes, the other thing that I've noticed, the one problem I had, and was that because I was working on a really complex project, it was somewhat hard to explain many times what I'm doing in a few sentences, right? It's like explaining SpaceX to somebody. Like if you say, or like explaining Twitter, explaining Starbucks to somebody. Like if you say, oh, I'm starting a coffee company, I'm starting a space company, space exploration company, I'm starting this, whatever, people will be like, oh damn, okay, well, sure, good luck, man, you know? Because it's like, it sounds like bullshit, or it sounds like pipe dream, whatever. Like Starbucks, like a coffee chain, okay, fine. Like cafes, okay, cool, whatever. What's special about Starbucks? Is a coffee different? Or like what's going on here, Like until they see it, they don't believe it, right? And because my project is kind of like that, it also took me a long time, I'm not gonna lie, to figure out the right words in the right sequence to communicate the vision and have that spark go up in the person's head, right? Like, whoa, okay, I get it. Whoa, it's, you don't want the feeling, you don't want the response of like, oh, okay, that's cool, well, good luck, I wish you all the best. That's the last thing you want to hear. The last thing you want to hear is good luck, honestly. What you want to hear is, whoa, damn, or something of that sort, right? So yeah, and I think I finally have kind of reached a point where, and I have the pitch down for the most part, and the pitch is both clear, easy to understand, and exciting. And those are the only two. I mean, of course, everybody you ask will say something different, but those are really the two things that you need, for any pitch to work. It has to be easy to understand and compelling, like exciting. If you only have one but not the other, I mean, of course, you can't get people excited unless they understand what the fuck's going on. I mean, you could, but I don't know how to. Anyway, I'm at my station, and that's the video.